Okay, in Bison, Jada Toys, fantastic. This I have been waiting for a while. So, because of the way the show has started to work, that we vote in what's being talked about, we've done an awful lot of DC, like back to back to back to back to back DC. And this guy got buried for like a long time. We have not talked about this guy. He's been sitting down there for so long. It's been kind of driving me crazy because I heard so many good things about this, and I'm expecting great things about this. The fact that they've been able to hold their price point the way that they have, even though some of it did go up, their prices have gone up, but I don't think it's gone up in a terrible way. I think it's gone up in a realistic way. This is awesome. Like his size and everything like that. And I still love these boxes, man. You got to give it up to them. So, look. A story about Bison. When I was a kid, I went and I bought, well, I didn't buy, okay? Because that was a little more difficult when I was a kid. You didn't just go buy games as easily as you can now. They were more expensive than I think people tend to remember. But look, we rented Street Fighter II for the Super Nintendo. Me and a buddy of mine. I'll say his name because if he ever finds this video, he'll know that I'm talking about it. But nobody else would ever be able to know who I'm talking about. My buddy Jesse. For some reason, I kept wanting to say Jason, and I have no idea why. But my buddy Jesse, he got it. And he had rented it, and we went over to his house. And this was after I'd played in the arcade. I've talked about that story before, like that moment that I walked in the arcade and was just blown away by what I was seeing playing in the corner. So I go to Jesse's house, and I'm like, yes, let's do it. And I'm so excited. Like, I'm so absolutely thrilled. I'm going to hold a Super Nintendo controller. I don't think people get this. Look, I got to do it. I got to say it. Okay, I'm sorry. And if people keep wondering why I keep bringing it up, it's because it's relevant to the stories I tell. I am 41, guys. I'm 41. I existed at the death of the arcades. I was there. I was just young enough to catch the dying trend. I went into the arcades. I spent time there. I played. I put my money in. I lost to people older than me. I ran the circuits. I went mall to mall and tracked down arcades that I could play in. And as the trend was dying, there was this new idea that was coming out. We were starting to see console versions of games that were knocking it out of the park. I mean, if you, and I have no idea how young I noticed most of my metrics say a lot of my audience is around the same age as me, but I have a lot of younger viewers too. And it's because of that I have to think about this sometimes. There's this memory about going to the arcade and playing the game and then feeling like you were playing a worse game when you got back home. Like if you played Arcade Ninja Turtles in the arcade, it was something, man. Then you played Arcade Ninja Turtles on the NES, and it was not the same. It was not the same monster at all. It felt different. It looked different. It was not the same, and you noticed it. There was a different feeling about going to the arcade to play these games. They were superior versions. That is not a thing today. In fact, I would argue that I have found times when I've gone to arcades and played things like Dead or Alive. Like I've found Dead or Alive cabinets in arcades, and I've played, and I've been like, I would rather play this at home. It is literally better on the console. I remember being absolutely floored when we got home and me and my buddy, we had rented this game and we expected it to be okay, but definitely a lesser version. When we put that thing in, to us, in the moment, it was hard to determine whether it was better on the console with the controller or if it was better in the arcade with the joystick. Like, and I realize one could argue that the joystick was better. If you're a serious fighting game person, you may very well make that argument, and I would not argue against you. I get it. But in those moments, when the Super Nintendo was taking hold, man, and when we were young, and all of this was new, and the jump in graphics, because I don't think people know. There's a reason that console generations don't excite people as much as they used to in terms of my age group. You'll often hear guys like me sometimes be like, I can wait. PlayStation 3 to PlayStation 4, it's fine. PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5, I'll get one when I can. Not that people don't still get excited, but the jump doesn't feel as big. Guys, most of us went from owning an NES to jumping into a Super Nintendo. That difference was unreal. It felt like a new world. And most of us were getting our Super Nintendos and Sega Genesis around the same time. This was very common, which is the reason we all fought about it on the playground. And as to which one was better. When I got this thing home and I played this, it was unreal. I mean, to hold the controller in your hand, to feel like everything worked and there was no downtime in it, like it didn't feel like it lagged, everything was responsive, it fought, we played, it was hardcore, we played round after round after round after round after round. It was unreal, guys. It felt like nothing that I can explain to you. Like, it's one of those things where you had to be there. You really don't know how big of a moment it was to play something like this and to feel like you were getting the exact same experience that you would have gotten, arguably better because you didn't have to spin the quarters. Because when you would go to a place like that and you'd use your own money or you'd ask your parents or whatever for, a $10 bill or whatever, and they'd put it in the machine and they'd get you some stuff, it's just not a thing. It's not a thing. Like, you'd go there and you pump your quarters in and you'd lose extra fast because those games didn't mess around. But then you could go home and you could play infinitely for the entire weekend, uninterrupted, constant battles. And then your buddy would pick this guy. Because I told you I was telling a Bison story. You know this show by now, okay? This guy. My buddy picked this guy. And that was one of the youngest moments of Rage Bill I can remember. Because he didn't know any moves, okay? He didn't know Psycho Crusher. He didn't know the move where you jump up and land on the guy's head and then do the slap. He didn't know any moves, but he did discover something. If he ducked and hit the R button over and over again, he'd do this skate kick thing. And this skate kick was like a trip that moved across the screen. And when you're young and you're just starting to learn fighting games and you're just starting to come into your competency of how good you can be at video games, this one devastating, stupid kick would ruin your whole day. I could not beat him with anyone. With anyone. Because I was not yet competent enough to just know how to get around it. I'd try to jump kick and things like that, but sooner or later he would catch me with the stupid thing. I would try to Hadouken, but you'd do a couple Hadoukens and then you would mess one up and your timing would be off and he'd get in there. Skate kick. And then he'd hit you and you'd go into the trip motion and then he'd just keep skate kicking into you. And every time you tried to get up, every time you just stand up into a skate kick, stand up into a skate kick. And because kids played this way, they would trap you in corners and be like the worst possible sports in the world. Like, it wasn't about getting good at the game or having good fights. It was about winning. And skate kick would make you win. And he won over and over and over and over until finally I had enough And I threw the controller across the room, and I told him, if you're going to pick that guy, I'm not even going to play. And he was like, I'm sorry that I'm so much better than you, because kids got to be kids. So, of course, I lost my crap, and I was like, you're not better than me. You're cheating. That guy cheats. He's the boss of the game anyway. You shouldn't even be allowed to pick him. And he's like, it's just, well, I can pick whoever I want. It's my house. I can pick who I want. And I was like, then fine, play this game alone. So I remember I left, and then he like came over to my house like an hour or two later, and he was like, "Hey man, dude, I'm sorry." And I was like, "No man, it's fine. I just can't win. It makes me mad that I can't win." And then he says to me, "Well, like after you left, I started trying the actual game. I can't win." And I was like, why? And he was like, dude, it's hard. That skate kick doesn't work. He was getting wrecked by the computer. And so then I went back over there, and we spent like literally hours, like the entire weekend, just trying to beat the game. Just like picking guys, and every time I would lose or whatever, I'd pass it off. I'd be like, this guy's cheap. And I didn't realize at the time that guy really was cheap. He was doing cannonballs while walking forward. You can't do that. That's not the way the move works. But that's not the way it works for the computer. So, like this is one of those things that when I think back on it, guys, like, it was such a time. It was such a moment. And I got this, like, story that comes to mind, like I just told you the story. But, like, it was so much more than that. Like, this was an age, and if you weren't there, you really don't know. It was just a time, man. And I'm sure so many of us have these moments, these exact moments I'm talking about right here. A positive of it. And I think that's one of the things, especially that honestly keeps me on YouTube, is to share these dumb stories. But also, I can't help but love figures, and I have to see this guy. Let's open him. All right. Well, first off, there's him, of course. I got a little string here, which I'm going to pull. Okay, wasn't a big deal. That is him right there. It's impressive. Like, it is absolutely impressive. And it's one of those things that just, you can't help but be floored by what Jada is pulling off here. I mean, look at that. We get a full wired cape. And I know that I'm like reviewing this way after everybody else, but these are not reviews. You know that by now if you've been here for a while. Like, I love the way that they do this type of material for this stuff so it doesn't cause any kind of problems. Like, we know that this won't get in your way. These are very much like, it looks like, okay, these somehow go on there. Oh, I think these slide. It seems like I don't want to do anything that was, I think maybe these just pop off. I'm not sure. I mean, I could tell that they're on there, and I can't tell exactly how they come off. I did see that they... Let me see this. Oh, look at that. We got instructions. Okay. So it looks like you just push on the back, and they come off that easy. Cool. And then you could put the other ones on, and then you don't have the cape. And that's actually, see, that's so cool. So you got this really good cape. I mean, it's good. This is dynamic if you ever wanted it. You got the normal face right here. Then you got that crazy angry face that he has. I know my camera only does so good on these. We're working on that, by the way, too. I'm working on getting a new camera that will focus a lot better for a lot of these lives that we've been doing. Minor problem. Not a big one. Let me move this real quick. See if we can refocus the lighting. This is cool. Like, it's going to go on his hand. He's going to punch. There's your strong punch. That is cool. But, okay, but it's not as cool as if we would have gotten the Psycho Crusher effect. And I know how big that would have been. Like just a big thing that you would have had to have put around him. And he gets these other two hands, which would have been ideal, because he would have put him up like this, and then he would have flown across, and it would have been cool and everything. This guy moves every bit as good as any other Jada figure. Like, I'm noticing that. There's going to be almost nothing that you can't pull off. And especially if you figure alongside the figure, you're also going to have this... You're also going to have access to the cape, which is going to give you all this sick, like, ability to, like, do things like this. So you can literally do this stupid thing. You could put his arms, you could do this, you could put his feet out. We've got to put him back together real quick. See? You can line his feet out and you could do this. Then he can skate across the stupid thing, and he can hit you over and over and over again, and there's nothing you could do about it because you're a kid. You can be salty about it for the rest of your life. Wow, he's good, man. He really is. He's got this head movement. See that right there? I can't help it, man. I don't care. See, that's the thing. And I had a video where I talked about this hobby hate, and I think people took it the wrong way. I'm just telling you, man, that if you're trapped in a moment where your enjoyment level is because you bought a new thing and because you can't buy the next thing, remember what you were collecting for. This is fun, man. This is memories, man. That's what this is. Don't let it be anything else. Like, it's so good just to share your memories, just to have these moments, just to remember what this was. This figure is unreal. Like, he is going to be so good standing on the shelf next to the other Street Fighters. I mean, they couldn't have done better. His paint job is unreal. I mean, overall, he's an absolute masterpiece, man. Am I going to buy the other one? No. I got him in red. That's all I need. That's literally all I need. I've got him with his alternate head and everything like that. I've got him with his alternate pads. They gave me everything that I need. The only way they're going to trick me into buying another Bison is if they go out of their way to release the the Psycho Crusher. If they release a Psycho Crusher, an effect, and it happens to come with a different Bison, that will get me. I will hate that if they do that. But they will also get me if they do that. We've talked about this. Like, all of collecting is heavy FOMO in terms of toys. Toys are built with FOMO because they want you to buy the extra versions over and over and over again, because the extra versions, they want to be able to reuse that mold and sell it and profit and repaint and things like that. Every one of these toy companies is about reuse and getting what they can, the most out of the tooling that they put in. Jada's not stupid. They know that Street Fighter is one of those things that has alternate colors. They know that Street Fighter is one of those things where you might want that specific face. They knew that when they released that specific face with Chun-Li, you were either going to get it or not get it. And they didn't care which one it was necessarily. They want you to get it, but they know that if they're going to get you to buy pink Chun-Li, they're going to add these, and they're going to add the happy face. You didn't get that with the red and the blue Chun-Li. Did you like red? Was that your favorite color on your Chun-Li? Did you like the blue Bison? Did you always play Player 2? Did you always get blue Bison? Look, guys. That's the way it's built. That's the hobby. I'm happy to have him. Like, absolutely. He's added to the shelf. Good deal.
I have spoken. Take what you will from it.